Why are we here? Do we need to be here? Should we be showing up here? Do I need to change our course of action as far as marketing tactics and where we live?
Welcome to Duo on Air, where we help you get seen, remembered, and wildly obsessed over by your audience. We're your hosts, Abby
and Courtney, a pair of ex-agency besties who ditched the cubicles, the Minneapolis skyways, and the corporate jargon for work that matters, with people who inspire us every day. Today, we're a women-powered marketing agency serving brands worldwide, bringing those big agency results without the corporate price tag.
Around here, it's all about what actually grows your business: branding, SEO, websites, and navigating the real-life ups and downs of building a dream while raising tiny humans. We're moms, wives, and best friend business partners in the trenches with you, making the hard stuff feel easy and a whole lot more fun.
So pour a fresh cup, get comfy, because you're exactly where you need to be.
Let's duo this.
Welcome back to the Duo on Air podcast. This is episode number 124, and today we wanted to share some ways to eliminate overwhelm in your overall marketing strategies. Because this is what we hear all the time, either I suck at marketing or I don't even know where to start. This is why we wanted to dive into this today. We have talked about this before on episode 88 on how many marketing channels you should be using. And then in episode number 37, we talked about how to DIY your own marketing roadmap, but that is not what we're going to be chatting about today. That is not what this episode is about. Those are really great episodes to dive into on other things when it comes to your marketing channels. But today, we're not going to list out all of these different places that you can live and why you should live there and what you should be doing. We want to instead talk about why you are feeling overwhelmed and how to fix it. So let us ask, do you know why you are doing certain marketing tasks in your business? I don't think a lot of people actually sit down and ask themselves why they're doing certain tasks within their business. I think sometimes we get so engraved into, I'm a small business, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z, and I need to live on this channel, that channel, and the other channel, and I need to show up all of the time, and I don't get a personal life. And I think we kind of all just fall into this marketing. We have to constantly be marketing ourselves, and we have to be everywhere all the time. And that is not the case. And I think that is where this dirty word overwhelm comes into play, is because we feel like we have to be everywhere. And then all of a sudden we're overwhelmed, we're burnt out, we don't want to do it anymore. We want to throw the towel in, we want to be foot models for the rest of our lives and make as much money as we can. So obviously making light and fun of the situation. But this is where that overwhelm comes into play, is because we're constantly feeling like we need to be everywhere all the time. And we're not actually sitting down and asking ourselves, why are we here? Do we need to be here? Should we be showing up here? Do I need to change our course of action as far as marketing tactics and where we live? So some of these questions are, why are you posting on Instagram? Have you actually stopped and asked yourself that? Like, why do I post on Instagram? Why am I there? Why are you blogging? Why are you paying for that quiz tool? Why are you emailing your list weekly? Sitting down and actually asking yourself these questions when it comes to your business. And better yet, do you know how each of these things are actually performing for you in your business? A lot of us probably don't. We probably just do the thing over and over every week in hopes that it's going to work for our business, in hopes that we're going to get that next sale, or in hopes that we're going to have somebody sign that next contract.
Or assuming it actually is bringing the sales.
Right. Because I think a lot of us assume that, we got X amount of clients this month, or we sold X amount of products. It's because I'm doing this, that, and the other thing. And that's maybe not true. And maybe you could be making more or having more leads or more products sold. So we want to talk about the 80-20 rule. It's also known as the Pareto Principle.
Pareto Principle.
Okay, Abby wrote some of these notes, so I've never heard it as the Pareto Principle. But it suggests that roughly 80% of outputs come from 20% of inputs. So in other words, 80% of your leads or conversions, could be attributed to 20% of the marketing channels that you use. Now, if that was the case, wouldn't you be less stressed about your marketing? In order for the principle to be true in your business, you need to start focusing your limited time and resources on the marketing activities that are actually most impactful. So again, that's why we go back to these questions on why am I doing this? Like, why am I posting to Instagram? Why am I emailing my list weekly? Why am I doing that? And it really comes back to the ones that are most impactful and if they're actually driving conversion or sales within your business.
And if you think about that too, like just think about that for a second. 20% of all the marketing channels that you live on are bringing in 80% of the profit. That is probably pretty close to true. It might not be exact, but that is probably discouraging and might be why you are feeling so overwhelmed, because you're trying to be everywhere and do everything with 100% energy. But until you actually understand the 20% that's driving the most impact, you can't be efficient at it. So let's talk about how you actually determine that. How are we going to determine what your most impactful marketing channels actually are? And rather than just guessing, like, oh, I posted a lot on Instagram and I also got a lot of sales, so it must be combined. We actually want you to look at the data. You actually have to look at the numbers. And don't say, like, Abby, I'm not a numbers girl. I hate Excel. I don't want to look at it. Like, Courtney's probably like, I don't either, but lucky for her, she's got me.
I am lucky in that sense. But I do love it from a perspective of knowing what's working for you and what's not. Mm-hmm. Because we are all so busy within our businesses and there are so many routes that you can take as far as marketing channels go that in order to really hone in on what's working for you in your business, to eliminate some that you might not have to put in, or if you're showing up everywhere 100%, maybe you could be showing up in another place 25% of the time versus, whatever. So it's really helping you to determine what's working and what's not to help drive efficiencies within your business.
Yeah. So you need to look at the data. So here's where all the different types of data you can look at. If you're like, okay, Abby, where's the data? Like, where can I find the magical data? So your CRM tool is one. So if you're a service-based business and you're using a CRM tool like Dubsado, like Honeybook, whatever it may be, using that tool to actually source where your leads are coming from. So there's always going to be a bucket there that will help understand where your sources are. And are they coming from Instagram, from Google? You also need to make sure this is set up on like your contact page, for example. So for us, when people inquire to work with us, we have a form with a drop down where they choose where they've heard from us. And that is how you are going to pull in your sources. Again, it's not going to be like 100% accurate because some people might leave more description on how they found you in the notes. So like, for example, podcast is a really big bucket for us. Where does that mean our podcast or does that mean we were featured on someone else's? So there, you can get really granular, but you also want to make sure that it's actually realistic you don't want to deter someone before they even reach out to you. So again, try to keep it pretty simple. If you're a product-based or e-commerce business, wherever you host your e-commerce platform, so Shopify, whatever website or tool you use, should be able to tell you where your sales are coming from. So it should be able to source if your sales are coming mostly from organic search like Google, if they're coming from your emails, if they're coming from direct traffic like existing customers. You should be able to see all of that information. You can also, if you're like, yeah, I don't have any fancy tools. I don't use like a CRM. I use an Excel spreadsheet to track all of my incoming clients, which is totally fine. We used to use that too. And honestly, I still use an Excel spreadsheet for a lot of things because
she loves them.
Yeah, because I love them. And they have better, like sometimes you just want to do different types of tracking. So like, whatever. I do track our invoices in an Excel spreadsheet in addition to our CRM. But anyways, not to talk about how nerdy I am.
I track things in Canva.
Of course, that's a beautifully designed Canva, which we do use. Like we do make our own Excel sheets in there, but I will say it's not as easy to work in as Excel is.
And that was a joke.
But you do. So basically, if you're just tracking right now, the money coming in, clients coming in, like some kind of invoice tracker or however you're tracking your projects and your spends, because you should be tracking them for your accountant at the end of the year, just add a new column. add a source column and start asking people. Maybe if you don't do it at the beginning, maybe you can do it at the end when you ask for a testimonial. Just ask them, hey, by the way, where did you find me, or how did you first get connected with me? And you can start tracking where people have come from. And then the final place you can look at data is Google Analytics. So peek at your acquisition traffic to see where most of your website visitors are coming from. So this doesn't always mean like the other data that I just went through, like your CRMs, your e-commerce data, if you have an invoice tracker, whatever, that is going to be accurate on who's actually giving you money. Google Analytics is going to tell you about the traffic you're driving to your website. It doesn't mean they've actually converted unless you have conversion tracking set up in Google Analytics, but it will help you see where your traffic is coming from, whether it's search, Instagram, referral traffic, direct traffic, wherever that may be. So that's kind of, that's all the sources of data. So I would look at all of them, all that you have, to kind of make the best approach of what is performing the best for you.
And when you were talking about asking questions, haven't we in the past, if somebody says just podcast generically and we don't know if it's our podcast or somebody else's podcast, we've asked too, like if we want to be more specific, like, oh, was it our podcast or was it somebody else's podcast? Yeah. I think even
it's usually we have like a what else do you want to tell us? Or if they don't know where they found us, like to elaborate in the more information bucket. So people do that. It's just not an easy way to like pull out into a data format. You have to like go in and read all of those, which again, you can have like a VA or someone on your team do that for you. Yeah. And then that would be a really easy way to like actually get all the information out of it.
Yeah. Haven't we even had somebody, or maybe you asked an inquiry once, they said something about Google or maybe they said exactly what they searched. They were like very specific about what they searched. Yeah. So it's really kind of fun too when people give you even more. They're like, I searched for blah, blah, blah and found you on Google. And you're just like, that's so exciting. That's so cool.
I know. And sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, that's normal. That's what I would think. And other times I'm like, wow, that's super random, but awesome at the same time. So let's just talk about a few examples to bring this to life. Because say you look at all of this data and you're like, okay, most of my leads are coming from organic search. What should I do? Well, you should stop farting around with Instagram. Like maybe still show up there if you're having fun, but focus on optimizing your content. Make sure that you have really good content and pages, and that those pages that are converting and driving the most traffic for you, you actually have something on there to get them off that page and in your world. Like, can you have a pop-up show up on that page to get them to your email list? Can you link them to your courses or your products? Like, make sure that there's some type of conversion happening on that page or a call to action on those pages that are performing really good for you. You can also work on building your backlinks, just creating more content for your blog, or updating content that you have to make sure that the overall quality of content on your website is really good. So if organic search is what's driving most of your leads, that's where you should focus your energy, because that is where the 20% is. Like, that's your 20% that's driving 80% of your traffic. So focus there for the majority of the time, and then dabble in other platforms.
Something that I want to touch base on there too, updating content. So blogs, we have a blog, we have a couple of blogs that we are updating, which a lot of them are like the entrepreneurs events or speaking opportunities. So we constantly are updating that one because that's a really high traffic driver for us. I actually think just recently it was our top performing one.
Yeah, there's actually been something which right now we're sitting in the month of May, end of month of May as we're recording this. And there was some really big updates that happened in April. And so likely if you are peeking at your business in Google Search Console, which you should, that is where you can kind of see how things have changed. Things have like spiked in the last like month for content, which is the amount of new content that's getting indexed. And it's not necessarily meaning that it's on high pages, but just more of our content is actually getting indexed, which is a huge sign that big like helpful content update that happened from SEO is actually like working. Like, it's making sure that more relevant, good content is getting indexed in search engines. So I would say like now is the time to really focus on your content. If you're finding that search is your 20% or your 80% lead generator, whatever. If you find that, like, definitely that's going to be a huge driver for you
And
right
I
now.
think a lot of people too feel like they have to constantly put out new content, but even just updating those blogs that are really high traffic drivers and making sure that they're up to date, that's something that's really important and key too, especially with this organic search.
Yeah.
So another scenario, most sales come from repeat customers or referrals. So what is some advice there? Prioritizing that customer retention. So investing in loyalty programs or email marketing to existing customers. So really honing in on those repeat customers and those referrals and making sure that those are a high priority.
And I'd say making sure too, like if you find out that repeat customers and referrals are the biggest source of traffic for you, then how can you nurture your new audience to become those repeat audience? So like, do you have really good nurture strategies in place, like a welcome sequence? How are you engaging them when they first find you? Because if you, and also like if you're a product-based business too, how is your product like being delivered? Like, how is that experience? Like, you might want to invest more in the upfront on that first initial experience with your customers, because if you can hone them in and they can then become your 80%, it's even better.
Yeah. I think too, when we work with branding clients, sometimes it's a one and done and we give them all of their assets and everything. But clients that come back to us that want to have us build on their collateral, we help nurture them and their business and their actual collateral and helping them build their brand out even further. And instead of just being like, oh, okay, they want business cards, sure, we can do that. What else can we do to let them know that we're there for their other services? So like business cards, sure, those are great as starting out as a business, but what about setting up some newsletters or some different templates that you can send to potential clients, or how people can work with you, or different packages that need to be built out within your brand? So really letting them know that like, here, yes, I can do this for you, but also we would highly recommend this, this, and this, to again, just pull them in a little bit further and continue to nurture them and working with them going forward. And how can you be that person for them throughout that whole process?
So I think you guys get it, but we'll do one more scenario. So say you find that your biggest pull is social media and that's driving the most engagement. So actually don't just look like social media as a whole. I want you to look at the platform. So like you can narrow in on Google Analytics to that. You can also narrow in, or just understanding, like for us, we actually just say Instagram. We don't say another platform in our contact form because we don't really show up as often anywhere else. We should probably say Facebook, Instagram because they're tied. But anyways, so once you find that out, then double down on that platform, continue to create targeted content, engage with your followers. Maybe that's even the opportunity where you know that organic is working so well for you that you can now invest in paid. So with all of these, like we took our own advice and took a peek at like what's working for us too. For us, in terms of what's actually sourcing the most leads from us, it goes referral, then Google, then podcast. I actually had a realization after doing this that email isn't even on there, which is a huge marketing strategy for us because we show up twice a week in our email subscribers' inbox in a good way. Everyone loves it. Open rates are great. So like we're not bombarding people, but anyways, we show up twice a week, which is a lot. So that was a realization doing this exercise for ourselves where it was like, we need to track that. Like,
yeah. I'm actually a little bit shocked about the referral too.
Referral?
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I think that speaks volumes to like the people we've worked with, our clients that want to refer us, our students that want to refer us. I actually don't think we've built a community. So I don't think that's weird.
I guess
at all.
I'm not shocked from that perspective, but I didn't know that it would be
the highest.
The highest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I definitely would not have expected that to be the highest.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that it's in like the top 3, but the highest that's.
And I would say too, what I've understood, sometimes people choose referral for guest podcasts too, which again, I would kind of put that into a bucket of community for us. Like this is a community bucket of like us interacting and engaging and building community because that's how we perceive it when we go on someone else's podcast too. So, which is fun. So like this, and we also like, I don't know, this is where we hang out the most. So it's like reassuring too that like the places we are living is driving the most source of traffic and clients from us. It's still going to be important for us to do so like course sales, understanding that on a separate note, because you might find that different parts of your business have like a different 20%. So courses might actually drive more business from social, for example, than our actual like services or offerings. I don't know. I'm making this up. It might not be true, but I would actually guess email would be the biggest opportunity there. But looking at the data, and this is where like you can listen to me mumble on about this, but it doesn't matter what I think in my head because it matters what the data says. So like actually take the time to look at the data and then spend your time there. So really overall, when you are doing this, like once you've looked at the data, now what? It's time to double down and like really just take action on that platform. So be consistent, find a way to be consistent on that platform that's driving you the most revenue. And it should be a no-brainer. Like, you know that your time spent creating content or working on this platform is worth it because it's driving 80% of your revenue. So there's no question as to whether you're wasting your time anymore. You know it's working. You can narrow in on your education. So like, where can you make improvements? Whether you just want to like dig in deeper on education, like DIY kind of education, or actually invest some money. Like this is where you know this platform is working for you. So invest in a coach, invest in templates, invest in like branding for that platform. So like say email's your top driver, invest in maybe a brand designer to build out your email for you, or invest in a copywriter to write you nurture sequence.
And how awesome is it that you know it's an investment that's going to be worth your time and money, right? You're not just like throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping that it sticks. You know for a fact that actually this investment will make you money back and that it'll be paid off because you're putting your money where you're making your money.
And a lot of times we think that we need to spend the investment on those things that we're not, like where we're not living yet. So like we're not living on TikTok and we don't have time, so we should just spend the money and outsource it.
Yeah.
Maybe occasionally when you have like the budget to do so, you can experiment with showing up in new places to see if that's going to shift what your 20% is. But if you don't have the budget, like a marketing budget to actually support opening up new channels, and you need to focus on generating more leads now, then you need to focus on what's working. Like that's where you need to spend your dollars and that's where you need to invest because you know you're going to get your ROI from that. So we have homework for you.
Fun homework.
Go look at your data. Courtney would
go look at your numbers.
But seriously, go look at your numbers. Dive into your CRM, your website analytics, your invoice tracker, whatever it may be, and see where your leads and sales are coming from and just understand what the number 1 and 2 drivers are for you. And the very best part of all of this is that the second you understand your numbers, you can stop feeling so guilty about having to show up everywhere and you can just let go of what's not working for you.
It's time for a refill. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Duo on Air.
If you loved hanging out with us today, here are 3 quick ways to support the show. 1, subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
2, share this episode with a biz bestie and tag us on Instagram at duo.collective.
And 3, leave a review because we love hearing from you.
Finally, keep sharing your episode ideas. We love creating content for you. Head over to duocollective.com to catch up on all the latest episodes, brand and website makeovers, SEO tips, and so much more.
See you there. Let's duo this thing called business together.